Everywhere I go, people call this bass a cello, and it breaks my heart. It's not a cello. You're a cello. You can pick up this t-shirt on my website. Link is in the description. These dogs won't stop barking, but I'm not doing this take again. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another bass lesson. Lesson number 17 in the Walking Jazz Standards series. And in this lesson, we're going to be looking at the Charlie Parker tune, Confirmation. Now, this tune has got a lot of changes in it, but it's actually pretty easy to play. And we're going to be doing things a little bit differently in this lesson. Currently, I've got no bass line ready at all. We're going to be writing out a bass line as we go. So by the end of the lesson, we'll have a complete bass line that you can take home and practice yourself. So without further rambling, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is write out our bass line using just root notes for each of the chords. And when you see that we have a chord that lasts for an entire bar of 4/4, we're just going to use one note. For the purposes of this lesson, I'll be doing this on my computer, but I highly, two highlies, recommend that you do this with a piece of paper. Find yourself some music paper and actually write them out by hand with a pen or pencil, and it's going to be much more rewarding for your learning process. So when we have a chord that is one chord per bar, we're going to use a whole note. So I'll take a whole note here, and we're just going to do root notes. So this is an F major 7 chord, so I'll use an F. Let's say we use this low F here. Okay, and now we have a chord every 2 beats. We're going to change to a half note. The last note that I used on this chord was an F, so I'll go down to a low E here. And I'm just going to put in some root notes. A there, D for D minor 7, G for G7. I'm going to go down to a C. And I used a low F for this F major 7 chord, so for this F7 chord, I'll use the high F here. And now I've got one chord per bar, so I'll change back to a whole note and do a B flat. Change back to a half note. I'll go down to an A, a D, and rather than go up to a G like I did in this G7 chord, I'll go down to a G, and I'll go up to a C, and I'll use the low F for the first bar. So I'm thinking for this bar, I'll use the high F. Alright, change back to a half note, go down to an octave up from the previous E, just so I can use some more root notes, rather than just use the same ones every single time. And yeah, let's go up to a D here. Go down to a G, up to a C, down to an F, and let's go up to a B flat. Go up the octave from the previous B flat we used in this bar. So up to a B flat, change back to our half note, and I'll go down to an A, down to a D here. This is all just using root notes, right? So you just need to know where they are on the lines, and then you can just put those notes in. G, C, and to end I'll go down to a low F again. Now moving on to the B section, we've got one chord per bar for almost the whole thing. So we'll start with this C minor 7 chord. We'll do a C for a whole bar, an F for a whole bar, and now we've got a chord for 2 bars. So I'll do a B flat for this first bar, and let's say I go up to the high B flat for the second bar. And now E flat minor 7, I'll do an E flat. And so now this is the first time that I actually need to change what the note is. If I put in this note E, that's going to be an E and not an E flat, so I need to change it to an E flat. Same thing for the A flat note. Let's go down to an A. So I put the A in, but I've got to change it to an A flat to match the note up with the chord, and D flat. Put in a D, write in a flat, change back to my half note. Let's go high G, C, and now the final A section, I'm going to put in an F, change back to our half note again, E, let's say we go up to this A, go down to a D, go up to a G, go down to a C, up to an F, and I'll go up to a high B flat this time, and do an A, D, let's say a low G, C, and we'll end with a low F. And there is our bass line using just root notes, holding the root note for the entirety of the chord. Okay, so this is the first exercise, and it's very important, in my humble opinion, that you practice this type of bass line over and over and over again. So once you've played the whole thing through, don't just end it. Go, alright, I've done the whole thing, that's the end of the practice. No, do it again, and do it again, and do it again, because you're trying to get the sounds of these chords into your ear so you can understand them better. And you're trying to listen for what every single chord sounds like when you're playing the root notes. And when you play them, you should also be listening for other notes that are in the chord to see, oh, what are the characteristics of this chord? So you really get a total sound of a total makeup of what the chord, is when you play like this. So that's it for the first exercise, and let's go on to the next one.